Shalom, children. In our stories so far, so many lives have been touched by the ministry of Yeshua. We have seen accounts of lame people walking again, a crippled hand was restored, and many sick people were made whole, and even a paralyzed man was able to pick up the stretcher that once carried him. Can you imagine the excitement of the people who lived in the Galilee at that time? If you had been there and had a friend who was sick, how hard would you have tried to get to Yeshua? What about taking a roof off, like the friends of the paralyzed man? They really showed great faith that Yeshua could bring restoration, didn't they? In our story today, we are going to hear about a Roman centurion who lived in Capernaum. He also had great faith that Yeshua was able to heal someone very dear to him. Do you know what a Roman centurion is? He was a Roman man who worked in the army and was in charge of 100 soldiers. That would make him quite an important person in Roman society. A centurion would have received a good pay for training the men under his authority, enough to be able to buy slaves to serve in his household. One such slave was very precious to the centurion and became ill, so much so that it was thought he would die. The centurion was concerned and wanted to help ease his pain. Now, this Roman loved the nation of Israel and had even built a synagogue for the Israelites to assemble on Shabbat in order to read and teach the Torah. He heard about Yeshua and the healings being done, and so asked the elders of the synagogue to plead for Yeshua to come and heal his sick servant. Yeshua agreed to go to the man's home, but before they arrived, the centurion had sent out friends as messengers on his behalf, saying, "Master, I am not worthy enough for you to even come into my house. Just say the word, and my servant shall be healed." This man believed Yeshua could heal his dying servant by just his word. Yeshua saw his tremendous faith and told the messengers, "Go your way. As you believed, so shall it be done." And the servant was healed that very moment. The next day, Yeshua, his taught ones, and many other followers set off for the village of Nain. In the village, there lived a certain woman and her son. The woman's husband had died, so that meant she was a widow. Sadly, her only son had just died too, and so now the widow was all alone. How sad she must have felt. According to the custom, a burial needed to be arranged, and so the villagers helped carry the body out to the burial site and mourned alongside the woman. When Yeshua arrived at the gates of the village, he saw the crowd of mourners walking alongside the woman and those who carried her dead son. The widow was weeping with great sorrow. Even with all those people surrounding her, offering comfort, Yeshua could see how alone she was and had great compassion on her. He went over to the widow and said, "Do not weep." He then touched the body of the son and said, "Young man, I command you to arise." The man immediately sat up and began to speak. Well, what a shock that must have been for all the people there. Great awe came upon everyone, and they glorified Adonai, saying, "A great prophet is risen up among us, Yah has visited his people. Children, do you remember the last time Yeshua encountered a widow? It was the woman at Jacob's well in Shechem. Yeshua had given that widow living water. This time, in the village of Nain, he gave a widow a living son. A Pharisee leader named Shimon asked Yeshua to come and have dinner with him at his home. Some other leaders had been invited too. Whilst they were eating, a sinful woman from the city came into the house. Remember, a sinner is someone who is not following the instructions of Adonai, as found in the Torah. Well, this sinful woman knelt down low at Yeshua's feet. She began weeping and weeping. She cried so many tears that they washed Yeshua's feet. So she then took her hair and dried his feet with it. The woman had brought with her a small jar containing some special, expensive ointment. She took it out and began to rub the perfume onto Yeshua's feet. When Shimon saw this, he thought to himself, if Yeshua really is the prophet sent by Elohim, he would know this woman is a sinner and most certainly would not let her touch him. Yeshua, knowing his thoughts, said to him, Shimon, I'm going to tell you a story. There was a creditor who lent 2 men some money. Now, children, a creditor is someone who lets others borrow something, usually money or another item. Perhaps you have been to a local library and borrowed a book from them. You don't keep the book, do you? No, you have to give it back to the library after some time. The creditor lent 500 shekels to one man and 50 shekels to the other man. When it was time for the men to give the money back to the creditor, their pockets were empty. What were they going to do? They have to pay it back. Incredibly, the creditor told both men, I forgive your debt. You do not have to pay it back. Having finished the story, Yeshua asked Shimon, which man do you think loved the kind creditor the most? Was it the one with 500 shekels forgiven, or the one with 50 shekels forgiven? Shimon rightly judged the matter, saying the one with the biggest debt, 500 shekels. Yeshua went on to tell Shimon and the other guests at the dinner the meaning of the parable. He explained, the righteous are like the man with a small debt, having just 50 shekels forgiven. Therefore they love the creditor just a little bit. But this sinful woman is like the man who had the big debt of 500 shekels forgiven. She loves the forgiver of her debt so much more. He told Shimon that even though he had hosted the dinner, he had not washed Yeshua's feet, showing honor to his guest. Yet the woman had come in, washed his feet, and anointed them with perfume, showing a greater love. You see, children, the woman had realized that she had sinned, and her debt was so large she could never have paid it back. Yeshua turned to the woman and said, Your sins are forgiven. Those at the table grumbled amongst themselves, saying, Who does he think he is to forgive sins? Yeshua continued to speak to the woman, saying, Your faith has saved you. Go in shalom. Faith has been an important theme in today's story. The Roman centurion had faith Yeshua could heal by just his spoken word, and the woman was told She was saved from her sin because of her faith. But what does the word faith mean? If we take a dictionary down from the bookshelf and look up the word faith, we will read trust or confidence in someone. So, the two people in our story today had trust or confidence in Yeshua. But that faith wasn't just in their head or their minds. You see, the Hebrew word for faith is emunah, and this is similar to the word faithfulness, which is something that we do. To help us understand, let's imagine faith in Yeshua's teachings are received into your mind. That faith then travels down into your heart, then all the way through your arms and out into your hands, down to your legs, to your feet, and back up again. What do you think will happen now? Well, your hands will start to do things to show that faith or trust in Yeshua's words. Your feet will walk in a way that demonstrates faith or trust in Yeshua's teachings. Even your mouth will say things that show faith or trust in Yeshua's words. When Yeshua preached to the people, he called them to stop their sinful behaviors, to teshuvah, or turn back to the Torah of Adonai, and from then on, live a life obedient to Yah. We saw that happen in our story today with a sinful woman. Remember how sad she was about her sin. She wept and wept. Imagine how free she must have felt when she heard the words from Yeshua, "Your sins are forgiven." Children, the scriptures tell us that we all have sinned. So each one of us needs to hear the message Yeshua taught, read the Torah to see if we are following the way that leads to blessings. Yeshua said those who listen to him will be like the wise man who built his house on what? That's right, he built his house on a rock. Well, children, that is the end of our story for today. So we will see you next time for another exciting journey in the life of Yeshua. Shalom.
Baruch Haba.